The secret room.
Good morning. So today we're going to read chapters 11 and 12 in Upside Down Magic. And yesterday we met all of Nori's classmates and what they did, and we figured out that Bax turns himself into a rock. And then she goes to lunch with Elliot, and Elliot wants to sit with his friends, the Flyers. And we find that the Flyers don't really, or the group that calls themselves the Sparkies, do not really like Elliot, and that they've been trying to get rid of him, basically not be friends with him all summer. And then all of a sudden, Nori gets upset. Nori gets mad, and she turns into a skunkafint. And then she sees Pepper. So let's find out what happens when she turns into a skunkafint. The cafeteria was closed until further notice. The Sparkies were sent to the medical office. They had been sprayed so thoroughly that then actual fog surrounded them, so she sprayed them with her skunk power. Rumor had it Nurse Riley fainted from the smell. Thanks to Elliot, Pepper had jumped for cover just in time. Nori had turned human again in the middle of the chaos, and before anyone could find her or yell at her or take her to the nurse, she ran down the hall to the supply closet and hid. She was so embarrassed. She was so mad at the Sparkies and very, very embarrassed and sorry. But she couldn't hide forever. After waiting a few minutes to calm down, she took a deep breath and walked out to recess alone. She would have to face everybody eventually, and it might as well be now. In the yard stood a swing set and big climbing structure. On the blacktop was a basketball court where 10 or so Flyers played fly ball, hovering 2 feet up in the air in a grassy area nearby. Fluxers turned into kittens and chased one another around. Some kids were doing ordinary stuff like jumping rope and playing tag. There's no fire and no flickering in the yard, said one of the lunch ladies as Nori walked outside, and only non-threatening transformations. Understood? UDM kids were standing around the swing set with Sebastian holding on to Andre's leash. A large group of ordinary kids were staring and pointing at them. Bunch of wonkos. They could have hurt someone. That was really gross. Why do they have to be in our school? Is it even safe? The UDM kids did their best to ignore the comments. Willa and Pepper were on the swings. Marigold pushed them alternately. Elliot and Bax bounced a basketball back and forth. When Nori walked over to them, the swing slowed to a halt. Everyone glared at her. I can't believe you did that to us, Elliot hissed. You made us look like wonkos. Dangerous wonkos, Willa added, in front of the entire school. Sorry, Nori said. I didn't mean to. Willa and Pepper got off the swings, and they all turned their backs on her, even Sebastian and floating Andres. Tears pricked Nori's eyes. You guys, please. Not one of them talked to her. Not one of them looked at her. For the whole rest of the day, they pretended she didn't exist. Miss Starr lectured everyone about tolerance and forgiveness. She reminded them that they all had magical powers that sometimes got out of hand. That's why we're here, she said. Even if we can't count on one another, then who can we count on? No one listened. Nori called home when she got to Aunt Margot's, but no answer. Please call me back, she said in the voicemail. I can't stay here. I really can't. She watched the phone. It didn't ring. Aunt Margot got home from work just before dinner time. Let's call for pizza, she said to Nori. Should we get olives on it or pepperoni? Nori was surprised. Hawthorne cooked something nutritious involving vegetables every night. And they all ate in the dining room with cloth napkins. When Nori and Dahlia did the dishes before anyone was allowed dessert. Pizza again, she said. Do you eat meat? Asked Margot, looking at a takeout menu. I realized I didn't even know if you eat meat. She opened the fridge. It had some fruit and milk in it, but nothing that could be made into dinner. Yes, pizza again, definitely. The only other place that delivers is the fancy Japanese place, and it's not in our budget. Do you eat pizza every night? Asked Nori. Aunt Margot flushed suddenly. Do you like pizza? Thought all kids wanted to eat pizza for every meal. I like pizza, said Nori. It's fine. Margot looked relieved. We could each eat an apple before it gets here, she said, so we get some vitamins. Sound okay? Sure, said Nori. What about the meat? Said Margot, picking up her phone. Meat is good. You can go to town on the meat. Margot ordered a small pizza with double pepperoni, and they sat on the couch and ate their apples in silence while waiting for the delivery. Nori did her math and English homework. Margot looked over her taxi schedule for the next week on the computer. Nori wanted to talk to someone about Pepper and the Bitten and the Skunkafant and the Sparkies and how everyone in Upside Down Magic hated her guts now. But she had long ago learned not to talk about her wonky magic at home. Anyhow, she didn't know Aunt Margot well, and Margot seemed absorbed in the taxi schedule, so Nori stayed quiet. There was just a living room and an eating kitchen. Nothing was very neat and nothing very messy. Margot didn't have much stuff, and she clearly wasn't interested in decorating. The living room had some grown-up books, a desk area with all her taxi papers piled around it, some cozy chairs and a couch, and there were no board games, no pets, no art supplies, or family photos. None of the jolly clutter that Hawthorne and Dahlia created in the back rooms of Father's house. None of the matching, careful quality of formal front rooms. Aunt Margot lived alone till I got here, Nori realized. She knew that already, of course. But suddenly she felt there was a knock on the door, and Margot got up to pay for the pizza. When she came back with the box, she flipped on the television. They ate without plates, just a roll of paper towels, and watched the news. It was extremely boring. Aunt Margot didn't seem to realize it was boring, though she leaned forward and shoved pizza in her mouth, almost without stopping. Flying with passengers is very physical, she said during a commercial. I need a lot of food at the end of the day. Oh? They watched another news segment and finished their pizza. Then Margot looked at Nori's face, really looked at her for the first time since she'd gotten home. She switched off the TV. You had a bad first day, didn't you? Nori's throat closed up suddenly. She nodded. Super rotten bad or just an ordinary new kid bad? Nori wasn't going to cry. She couldn't cry in front of this near stranger aunt, the aunt who didn't even know how bad of a wonko Nori was yet, who had been so nice to Nori to take her in when her own father didn't want her. She just pressed her lips together to keep the crying in. Are you going to yak? Shouted Margot suddenly. Oh dear, don't yak on the carpet. Let's just walk you over here to the floor. She pulled Nori gently by the elbow until they were standing on the patch of bare floor. Okay, yak here. Go right ahead. This is a good yak territory. Watch out for your shoes. Nori burst out laughing. I'm not going to yak, she said. You're not? No. Really? Really. Margot smiled. Oh, phew. I thought that was your about to yak face. No, I thought the double pepperoni was a bad idea. Maybe. No, it was good pepperoni. Maybe a little nervous there, said Margot. That face. No, that was my super rotten bad day face, Nori admitted. Oh, Margot looked at her exponentially. There was silence, and then Nori blurted, I hurt a girl's feelings, but not on purpose, and I didn't know how to say sorry, and then I turned into a Bitten and ate some books, and people thought that was weird. But then at lunch, I turned into a Skunkafant, and they had to close the cafeteria, and it was really badly smelly, like no smell you ever sniffed, and I couldn't help it, and Elliot's mad at me, and the Sparkies are mad at me, and the whole Upside Down class is mad at me, and they think I'm the wonkiest kid in the whole wonky classroom. Aunt Margot sat down on the edge of the sofa. Zamboozle, she said finally. That is a super rotten day to end all super rotten days, I think. Yeah. Okay, how can I help? Father always told his children that they had to help themselves. He couldn't do things for them or make things easier. Helping themselves was the way they would learn. Nori kind of thought he was right about that, but it was nice to hear these words from Margot now. I don't know, Nori squeaked in reply. Then let's go for a fly, said Margot, pulling her coat from the closet. Come on, bundle up. Aren't you tired? Not anymore. I got rest. I eat pizza. Here, wear some gloves. They bundled up and went outside into Margot's backyard. When they levitated straight up in the air together, not too high, and from there they floated gently over the town of Dunwhiddle. Margot pointed out the pharmacy, a street full of restaurants and shops, and the park with its pond full of ducks. A few other flyers passed by enjoying the evening light. One of them had a canary on a long leash, taking her for an outing. The others were alone. Since most flyers couldn't take passengers, Margot waved at them and called out, It's my niece, Nori, the one I told you about. Nori waved too, and the flyers waved back. Margot seemed proud of her, or at least glad to have her. They flew along a creek that meandered through town. They flew out over the town swimming pool, which was empty, and the fly ball court at the high school. After a while, they came back to Margot's house. They took hot showers and put on pajamas, and Nori went to sleep in her little iron bed in the room with the bright green walls. Much to her surprise, she felt okay. But the next morning at school was just as bad as the first day. Today we're going to do math and geography and vocabulary, just like any other class, Miss Starr said. But I like to get creative with literature, she smiled. You're not just going to read poems and write essays. You're going to read poems and do interpretive dance. Huh? Said Elliot. Part of developing your upside-down magic is getting in touch with your emotions. You want to understand your feelings, so you don't. Well, turn into a mitten or a rock or cause a rainstorm when you don't want one or swing someone's car. UDM is not about controlling your feelings. It's about understanding them. Whatever, grumbled Bax. I don't have feelings. Then he turned into a rock and had to be taken to Nurse Riley. Marigold took him in the wheelbarrow Miss Starr had brought to class that morning for this very purpose. The rest of the students read a poem called The Lost Mermaid. Another new one! Shh. Then Miss Starr played ocean music through the speakers and called them to the carpeted area of the classroom. She can't find her parents. Feel her sadness, cried Miss Starr. She dropped to her knees and made swimming motions with her arms. Feel her panic. Feel her terror. Feel whatever it is the poem made you feel. Get in touch with it. I didn't sign up for dance class, whined Andres from the ceiling. Give it a chance, said Miss Starr. You can be a hungry shark if you want to, or an angry shrimp, or a stoic rock. On second thought, don't be a rock. We never want to make fun of Bax. There is no such thing as mermaids, Willow grumbled. Not true, Miss Starr said. No one has seen one for over 100 years, but they did exist. Sebastian rolled around on the carpet, apparently feeling feelings. Pepper scrunched into a ball with her head between her knees. Nori pretended to be a sad seaweed. She swayed over to Elliot, waving her hands swishily above her head. I'm really, really sorry, she said to him, about the skunkafant and your Sparky friends. Go away, Elliot said. I'm very busy being a blobfish. A blobfish, Nori studied Elliot. He was leaning against the wall, not doing a thing. Elliot became even more blob-like. Yes, and I'm feeling annoyed. I wonder if you can guess why. Because blobfish look like they're made out of dough, Nori asked hopefully. Nope, that's not why, he scowled. You're going to turn into a blob kitten now, are you? A blitten. Nori shivered. Gross. I can't make any promises, she said, but I'll try not to. Just then, the ceiling opened and rain poured down on all of them. A lot of rain. Sorry, yelled Willa. No need to apologize, cried Miss Starr, running to grab the umbrellas. This is a teachable moment. Let's talk about why that rain just happened. Let's understand the connections between your feelings and your magic. The rain stopped. Everyone got their spare clothes from the cubbies, and the janitor was called in again. But even though it was Willa who had caused the problem, it was still Nori that no one wanted to talk to. The days passed and nothing got better. When it came for the class to study magic, Miss Starr told her students to do headstands. They all had to do it on Come to the Rug, where Miss Starr urged them to flip their worlds upside down. She had Andre stand on his feet like a bat with his head downward. She gave him a closed umbrella as a prop. No one except Willa was very good at it. Most of the students had to lean against the wall. Bax turned into a rock every time he went upside down. Every single time. Then he was taken off to Nurse Riley in the wheelbarrow. After about an hour, he'd return to class in his human form, usually with a green medicine mustache. It seemed like a hopeless cause, but Miss Starr made all of them keep practicing. Headstands calm our brains and relieve stress, she insisted. More importantly, they let you see things upside down. They give you another way of thinking about the world. It really helps those of us with the upside-down magic. I promise. Nori wasn't sure the teacher knew what she was talking about. Miss Starr, she asked one day when they were upside down, except Bax, who was a rock, and Sebastian, who was on wheelbarrow duty. Did headstands help you with your magic? Miss Starr was in the center of the carpet, doing a perfect headstand. It helped me tremendously, she said. Because your magic is upside down too, said Marigold. Absolutely. That's why I wanted to become a teacher. Just tell us what it is, begged Willa. Please. We know it's different, but different how? It's a magic that, well, it might disrupt the classroom when I bring it in, said Miss Starr mysteriously. I want us all to get settled before I share it with you. I bet you're a special kind of flicker, guessed Elliot. No, some kind of fluxer, guessed Andres. No, a fuzzy, guessed Pepper. I'll tell you when it's time, said the teacher. Now I want all of you to come down to the floor. Andres, I'll get that bag of bricks for you to hold. You're going to do a group trust exercise. Everyone groaned. Every day, as soon as school let out, Nori raced to Aunt Margot's and called home. Every day she reached the voicemail. Please call me back, Father, she said. It's awful here, Hawthorne, she said, and I miss your cooking. The other kids talk about me when they think I can't hear, Dahlia, she said. They're all really messed up. I just want to come home. Please? No one called back. 2 weeks after Nori arrived on a Saturday morning, Aunt Margot made a call of her own. Soon, Stone, she said sharply. I know you're there. I know you're letting your calls go to voicemail. I'm sure you've told Hawthorne and Dahlia not to pick up. This is unacceptable. Nori is your daughter. You need to stop acting like a dimwit. I know you have my number, so call us back. But Father didn't. After 2 hours of waiting, Aunt Margot punched in a different number. It's time for you to meet Nori, Aunt Margot said to the person on the phone. Can you come get us? She paused, then said, yes, perfect. Give us 5 minutes, 6 if you want me to brush my hair. She laughed, said, love you too, and hung up. We're going out for lunch, she told Nori. Figs is coming for us in his car. Who's Figs? Nori asked. She was crumpled on the couch, feeling sorry for herself. He's my boyfriend. You'll adore him. He's taking us to this new bake shop that 2 of our Flair friends just opened. The cinnamon rolls are supposed to be wonderful. You can handle a cinnamon roll for lunch, right? Maybe. Nori smiled for the first time that day. Father always insisted on vegetables and protein for lunch, so no one got weighed down with too much sugar and starch. But what if Father calls back, or Hawthorne, and we aren't here to pick up? Piffle, said Margot. I'll take my cell. Figs is already on the way. Oh, there he is. A large brown and white dog jumped through an open window in the living room, barking and wagging his tail. Figs, Aunt Margot scolded. Stop showing off, you big hairball. She turned to Nori. Figs has been wanting to show you his St. Bernard since the first day you got here. He just got it licensed, but I told him to wait. I wanted you to have a chance to get settled. Figs bounded over to Nori and grinned a doggy grin. Then he backed up and shook his body so that his fur stood out all over. A moment later, he changed into a broad-shouldered, olive-skinned man. He wore jeans and a black T-shirt and had a big smile. Hello, Nori, he said, reached out for his hand. I'm Figueroa Russo. I run the pharmacy in town. We've got aspirin, wart medicine, burn ointment, catnip, you name it. We sell candy, too. You should come by and spend your allowance. You're giving her an allowance, right, Margot? She needs one. Fine, said Margot. I'll give her an allowance. Now can we go? I'm starving. Let's do it, Figs said, clapping his hand. Cinnamon rolls, here we come. They had a wonderful lunch of starch, grease, and sugar. Figs talked about fluxing a lot. He was licensed for 4 different dog shapes. Never could get my kitten right, though, he said encouragingly. I must be the only fluxer in North America without a cat license, and I haven't got any large carnivores either. But oh well, what do I do with them anyway? Dogs just come more naturally to me. I'm working on a Chihuahua. I think it might be useful to do a really little dog, but so far, no luck. On the way home in Fig's van, Aunt Margot's cell rang. She looked at it, raised her elbows, and handed it to Nori. Nori's heart jumped. She put the phone to her ear. Hello? Nori, we're on speakerphone, Dahlia said. Who's on speakerphone? Nori asked. Me and Hawthorne. What about Father? At a meeting, Dahlia said. You know Father, always working on the weekends. Hi, Nori, said Hawthorne said. Sorry it's taken us so long to call you back. Father wanted us to let you get settled first, but after Margot's message, we decided we should sneak a call. Well, it's about time, Nori almost said, but she didn't. What if they hang up? She made the best of things. She would. Aunt Margot just took me to a really nice lunch, she said. It had no vegetables at all. Lucky, said Dahlia. How's the house? Hawthorne asked. Is your room very small? How's your new school? Asked Dahlia. Is it depressing? We want you back, Hawthorne swore. It's just hard to convince Father. But we have an idea, Dahlia added. We thought if you could get control of the animal bodies, so you won't chew things and set things on fire. And if you can get yourself doing a really good kitten without any weird things popping out. Father said your kitten was really good until it went wonky. Then you could get yourself tested out of that UDM class. You could go to class for normal kids, said Hawthorne. Then you could work on being more normal and reapply to Sage Academy. Reapply, said Nori. On the other end of the line, she heard the faint sound of the door being opened. Is that Father? Oh, no, Dahlia said, her voice going up in a high pitch. We have to go. Get out of that special class, Hawthorne said. Just stop being wonky and come home. We miss you. Hawthorne? Dahlia? Nori heard her father say. Who is that on the phone? There was a click, and then nothing. Nori squeezed her eyes shut in the back of her van. Figs and Aunt Margot were talking about whether they could make cinnamon rolls at home. Aunt Margot was saying the recipe sounded too hard, and they should make cinnamon toast like everyone else did. Figs was saying he shouldn't avoid trying something just because it was hard. Nori only half listened. She was thinking about Hawthorne and Dahlia's plan. First, she had to learn to be normal, yes. Then she'd get out of upside-down magic and be put into regular Fluxor class. She'd learn to be even more normal in Fluxor class and then she'd reapply to Sage Academy. She could even do 5th grade over again. She wouldn't mind. If Nori could do all that, if Nori could be normal, surely Father would let her come home. We are not going to read chapter 12 today because chapter 11 was really long. So tomorrow or Monday, we will go through chapter 12. Have a great day, guys.